Welcome back to the workshop, everyone. We're going a little bit different this week. We're taking a little break from guitar building. If you don't watch my guitar building series videos, I suggest you go and show a bit of love. I always get asked, can you show us how to make the jigs?
Bullshit!
So I'm going to show you how to make some jigs, but I'm going to start small. I've bought loads of jigs over the years, and some of them are amazing. I can highly recommend everything from Crimson Guitars. They make amazing stuff, but there's lots of companies that make good stuff now. This is a custom control cavity cover. That one goes there. That's going to route out your outer piece of your control cavity. This is going to give you your inner piece. The problem is that this doesn't fit every guitar. So sometimes you have to make a custom one. Just for demonstration, here is a random Jazzmaster charcuterie board actually, but it's going to be a guitar body for this. Here's the back of the Jazzmaster. Don't forget to turn it around. Now this control cavity doesn't fit that perfectly, and actually I like to have a bigger control cavity sometimes.
You're hard.
That I can use to give myself a bit of room, a bit of wiggle room in there, and it gives you a bit more room with the buttons on the front. You want to be able to do whatever the fuck you want on the front of the guitar.
Watch your profanity.
So that's not quite cutting it for me. It's not far off, to be honest, but some guitars, different shapes, that's a mile off. So what do? Well, you make one for yourself. You can use various materials. I run a kitchen company, so I tend to favour kitchen backs, unit backs that I cut out of fridge units and stuff like that. It's perfect, it's 9mm, it's free, and it's got a lovely glossy surface, which is nice for routing with. You can also use a bit of 9mm ply. Don't go any thicker than 9 because you've got to get deeper router bits, all that sort of shit. And the favourite 9mm MDF. Any of them will do. I'm using MDF, but it's got a glossy front. Piece of piss. So I'm going to use pen so you can see it on the camera. Wouldn't normally use pen. I'm also going to mark where that centre line is on the guitar because I'm going to need that. There, I hope you can see that. That's simple so far, isn't it? I need to trace this line, and it's easier to do that when I've cut it out. So next tool you're going to need for the process, get yourself a jigsaw with a nice fine blade on it. Right, back in the room. We've got the back of our Jazzmaster traced out. That's not complicated, all right? Next step, got to decide how far in I'm going to want this control cavity, and I'm thinking generally 25-30mm is fine. That gives you plenty of room. So now just using the old Chippy's tracing finger, I'm going to trace that line. Now I know that my control cavity is going to follow the contour of the body perfectly. That's not hard, is it? That's not hard. Now I want to decide how deep I want to make it. Generally speaking, you want to stay about 50mm away from your centre line. And then you're not interfering with bridges and all that sort of guff and pickups. And you can do whatever you want on this bottom bit of body. So I'm going to come along nice and straight. And then what you do at the end here, you can just draw around anything that you've got that's round. Find yourself a lid or another control cavity that you've got that you just want to pinch a bit of. Generally I would do this in pencil so I can alter it, but I'm doing it in pen so the masses can see what I'm doing. There you go, that's the control cavity I want to make. That's going to fit perfectly on the back of a Jazzmaster. It will serve a purpose of hollowing out a little bit to make a body lighter if it's a bit of a beast. And it'll also give you plenty of room to do whatever wiring configuration you want to do. You can go fucking mental if you want.
Already said fuck once, you don't need two fucks. You already got the one fuck.
So now I've just got to cut that out. And I'm going to cut it out as carefully as I can, but it doesn't have to be perfect, and you'll see why. Simple as that. We've got that cut out of miles off the line, and the next step is going to be filing this down to the line and just getting this shape a little bit sweeter. This bit doesn't matter, you don't have to touch that for a minute. So I cheated there, just to speed things up. If you haven't got a spindle sander, just do it with files and sandpaper. It takes a bit longer, but you're only making one in your... Right, so I've got a pretty accurate cut out there. I'm happy with that. It's smooth, it's nice. Let's move on. Going back to the bit that we chopped out now, this is where things get a bit interesting.
About time.
The next thing you're going to need is a bit of car body filler. I've used this in quite a few videos. It's the most basic way of doing this job. We've got this bit that's going to go inside. Nothing too complicated about that so far. So what I need to do next is I need to put a little bit of tape on the inside of here. Right, so you can see there at the end of that exercise, we've literally just lined the inside of that as best we can. Super accurate with some tape. Don't have to be good tape, but it's just lined. Now when I turn this bad boy upside down, gently, gently, I'm just making sure that the spacing is all even around where we've chopped out. I just need to make sure there's a gap everywhere. Once you've done that, we can tape it in place. It's difficult to make videos about jig making interesting. So stay awake. Even I'm trying not to f***ing yawn. That's a simple stage to get at. It might be confusing you. It might be blowing your head apart. Once you've done this a few times, it's a piece of piss. Next job, mix up a bit of your filler. This stuff goes off really quick. My mixer of choice happens to be an old string gauge. So your next job is going to be to press it in all the gaps. I'm going to go in a few directions because this stuff's a bugger for not getting all the way in. You really want to sink it to the balls. Right, going to set that aside now. Gas mark 5. Come back to it in about half an hour. Ready for a bit of magic. Ta-da! We've had a bit of drying time. This is the only bit that's a bit stressful. We've got to now press this out and hope that it presses out. And as we press it out, the filler is only going to stick to the bit with no tape. And we're out. You take that tape off. Now this bit in itself is a little bit fragile. So the first thing we're going to do is use this as a router template. And we're going to make another one of these, but without the shitty filler on the side. Let's do that bit, shall we? Always remember your PPE.
I feel so grown up.
So now we've done that, you can see that I can just separate that off. And we've got this piece here with no shit on it. We go back to our old template piece and that should fit in there super tight, and it does. That's perfect. All right. Sometimes you're gonna need a little bit of fettling, bit of sanding, bit of love. And one thing you can do that doesn't really affect things is you can just bevel your edges. Next thing I need to do is make another one, and you'll see why. Right, so now the bench looks like carnage. We've got our two pieces. The reason I have two is because I want to have a whole one, a nice solid one, for using as a template to actually cut out control cavity covers. So I'll leave that one nice and solid. This one here, we need to recreate this piece because naturally you need places to screw in your control cavity cover. That's a fairly simple little task, and I'll show you exactly how I do that. I'm going to give myself a decent border. Again, I would do this in pencil normally, but I've learned that you can't always see it if it's pencil. Now on this, we need places to screw it in. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to use sweepy curves. And the reason is, router bits are sweepy and curvy.
Is that true?
I'm just going to leave some corners on here. Again, do it in pencil. And then up the top here, I'm just going to come down like that. Now I'm going to cut that out and do a bit of filing again. No car body filler this time though, no need for that. Just give it a bit of love.
the most flattering angle I have right here, like this.
Now I've taken the pen off just to make it look a little bit prettier, because we all like pretty things. But there you can see what we've done. We've made our own. We've taken the concept of this jig that way easier to cut out with a laser cutter and a bit easier on my CNC, if I'm honest. But this is how I always used to do it. This is a great way for anyone without massive tools.
Size matters not.
To do it. You don't need a lot. What have I used? I've used a router, spindle sander, not essential. Just use bloody sandpaper and a few files. Everyone's got that. Back of a kitchen unit, piece of piss. Free, for one thing. There we've made our template. I'll do a quick demo on a body because I've got a jazzy project coming up soon. Stay tuned for that. There we go, back of the jazzy. Don't normally do it backwards, but we'll do it for the video, shall we? So we've got our template. We're just going to lay him out. Always check that you're nice and parallel off the lines there. I can quickly blast this out with a drill. Blasting! This is where the plan is ingenious. We can pop that one out. We can set him to depth so it's touching the body. Close my depth stop. And we should be able to router out a perfect opening. I think you can see that is a pretty foolproof way of getting done what we need doing. Naturally, the reason I keep this one solid is because we can then use that as a template. If you're going to cut a piece of walnut, whatever you're going to do to match it in, you just use the same thing. When you look at cavity control covers on posh guitars, they're not always a great fit, to be honest. Quite often they'll bevel the back edge just to make sure it fits in nice and easy. So now we're there. If that was your control cavity cover, whatever posh stuff you're making that out of, that will literally just pop in there. And in fact, that's so tight, I'm not going to get that out until I've drilled those from the other side. So there we have it, a video how to make your own custom control cavity cover out of whatever old crap you got lying around that you can make to suit your perfect guitar body shape. How custom do you want to go? Thanks for watching the video, everyone. Watch one of these playlists or even subscribe, just as a way of saying, cheers, Paul. That was passable. It's a passable video. Thanks for watching, everyone. It's always a pleasure to have you. I'll see you next week. Now it's time to start the arduous tidying up. It's always glamorous.